Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, cutting straight through the usual corporate script.
That's right.
Our mission is really focused. We're actually skipping the prepared remarks from Wayfair's Q3 2025 earnings entirely. We're diving straight into the Q&A.
Yeah, because that's where the real gold is,
Yeah.
right? For you, the listener, prepared remarks are, well, they're often just marketing spin. The Q&A, that's where management gets put on the spot by analysts.
Right.
It reveals their genuine thinking on forward strategy, how they're actually planning to handle risks, and, their true priorities for driving growth into 2026. We're pulling out those really high-value nuggets that tell you what they're actually doing right now.
Okay, let's get into it then, starting where the analysts did the consumer. What's the pulse? Specifically, they asked about the timing of Way Day, their big sale, and just the general outlook for holiday spending.
Mhm.
Management confirmed they're running a similar seasonal cadence, but they did move Way Day back to late October. That's the timing they used a couple of years back, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
They basically concluded that late October window is simply more optimal.
Optimal how?
Well, it seemed to give them a better runway into the main holiday shopping season. But what really stood out to me was how quickly management just brushed off some of the external worries.
Like what?
Specifically, the questions around those potential 232 tariffs. The idea that new cost might hit consumer confidence.
Right. So did those tariff threats actually cause people to buy ahead of time? A pull forward?
Management was really firm on this. Minimal impact.
Really?
Yeah, they said they saw no sustained change in consumer behavior. Any little blips, any pull forwards were described as very small, and get this, lasted days in duration.
Just days.
Just days. So the big takeaway here, management isn't sweating tariff drama. They're not waiting around for DC decisions to dictate their strategy.
Okay, that makes sense. And that sort of internal confidence, that structural confidence, seems to be what led into their whole 2026 outlook discussion. They made a pretty bold claim, actually. They're planning for growth where EBITDA expansion will definitely outpace revenue growth.
Definitely. That was the word.
In this home market, which is still pretty sluggish, that sounds great, but isn't that a huge execution challenge?
It absolutely is, unless you believe you've fully shored up your operational foundation. And that's exactly their argument. This is really a core insight for anyone tracking the company. They broke down their plan into three key pillars, three compounding pillars they believe will drive growth no matter what the broader economy does.
Okay, let's break those down. Pillar one is the basics.
Correct. The first is just continuous investment in the core recipe.
The recipe.
Yeah, the fundamental value proposition.
Yep.
Price, selection, speed, availability. That stuff has to be absolutely top-notch before anything else really matters. Constant improvement there.
Okay, makes sense. Then pillar two was new programs and innovation. They mentioned their physical retail stores, which is still pretty new for them. The Wayfair Rewards loyalty program and that editorial thing, Wayfair Verified, stuff they launched recently that's starting to scale up now.
Exactly. Moving from launch phase to, really driving impact.
Yeah.
But the third pillar, that might be the most critical one for backing up that EBITDA promise.
Which is?
The technology cycle turn. Look, they have a massive tech team, about 2,500 people.
Wow.
And they're arguing they're finally getting the full leverage from that team because a very large technology replatforming effort was basically done by the end of 2024. They finished rebuilding the engine, the core infrastructure, and now the speed of innovation should really pick up.
Okay, so the engine's rebuilt. Let's talk about how that shows up in the financials. They spent a lot of time talking about contribution margin CM rather than just gross margin. Why is CM the metric they're focusing on for the future?
Right, this gets us to the core leverage story. So CM, as they define it, is gross margin minus those variable costs tied directly to an order.
Things like customer service calls, credit card fees.
Exactly. Customer service, merchant fees, and advertising, those variable costs. Management said they're comfortable with CM running around the 15%-ish plus range.
15% plus. So why does having a stable CM give them confidence that EBITDA will grow faster than revenue? Where's the leverage?
The key is their huge fixed cost base. They use the acronym SOTG&A for it.
Right. Selling, operations, technology, general, and admin. All the overhead.
Exactly. Everything from the salaries for those 2,500 tech folks to rent, utilities, all that. Management pointed out that SOTG&A is holding pretty steady, sort of in the $360 million to $370 million run rate per quarter.
Okay.
So if revenue grows and your CM percentage stays healthy around that 15% plus those extra contribution dollars basically flow straight down to adjusted EBITDA growth. Because that massive fixed cost line isn't growing nearly as fast. That's the leverage mechanism they're counting on.
Got it. Okay, shifting gears a bit now to future strategy. Analysts asked if the business is past an inflection point. Are they now set up for sustained mid to high single-digit revenue growth, even if the economy stays weak? What did management say?
They were very bullish, was the
Oh.
phrase used. Very bullish.
Bullish why?
They see these compounding share gains coming from all those internal fixes we just talked about, the replatforming being done, the loyalty programs gaining traction, just growing operational scale.
Right.
They admit the macro picture is still, sluggish.
Mm.
The home category overall is basically flat to slightly down.
Right.
But they feel their momentum is internally generated now. They have, let's say, high confidence they can keep grabbing market share just because they're executing better than they ever have before.
Okay, that brings us to maybe the most complex, but also maybe the most forward-looking part of the Q&A, the future of advertising.
Yeah.
Specifically in the age of AI.
Yeah.
They really got into the weeds on agentic search, basically. Chatbots driven by large language models, or LLMs.
They did. And they framed it correctly, I think, saying the market is really just in the first inning of generative AI's potential.
First inning. So early days.
Very early.
Yeah.
But they didn't just talk concepts. They outlined how it fundamentally changes ad spend. Like paid search as we know it. That might become what they called paid surfaces.
Paid surfaces.
Think of it like product placements baked right into the answers AI agents give you, instead of just the blue links on a Google page.
Huh.
And organic search will change too, as AI agents provide organic answers based on data they've synthesized themselves.
So Wayfair's strategy then is to make sure that when an AI recommends a sofa, it recommends their sofa.
That's the core idea, yeah. They're working closely, they said, with the big AI and LLM players, Google, OpenAI, Perplexity.
Big names.
Right, to make sure their vast and specialized catalog gets integrated accurately. The ultimate goal is for their products to be fully transactable right there on these new platforms. It's about moving beyond just being a link in a search result to being the trusted, verified source that the AI agent relies on and recommends.
That sounds like a huge long-term play. But let's bring it back to today's paid search for a second. Amazon temporarily cut back its Google Shopping ads. They were asked if that, cleared the field and gave Wayfair a nice boost in sales or maybe some ad leverage.
Yeah, interesting question. The answer was basically minimal impact.
Really?
Minimal.
Yeah, and it's a nuanced point worth understanding. Management explained that because Wayfair is such a specialist and already has high share in its core categories,
Yeah.
well, if one big general advertiser like Amazon leaves the auction,
Someone else just steps in.
exactly, they're just replaced by other advertisers. The competitive dynamic in their specific niches doesn't change all that much.
But wait, I thought their Q3 results did show better ad leverage. If it wasn't Amazon pulling back, what caused it? Good point. They were very clear about separating the causes. Yes, they saw some ad leverage improvement in Q3, partly from structural things like more free traffic, more app usage, but also, and this is key, from a one-time benefit due to some large-scale internal holdout tests they were running on their advertising.
Ah, internal tests, so not a permanent shift in the market.
Correct. That was a critical distinction they made. Don't mistake a one-off internal testing result for some big change in the overall paid search landscape.
Good detail to catch. Okay, let's widen the lens again. The industry backdrop. Management seemed to suggest the home goods category is getting better, despite the housing market still being pretty tough. Why do they think things are improving?
Yeah, it's not because there's some acute upturn driven by a housing boom. Not at all. They basically confirmed the industry is improving simply because it bottomed out.
Bottomed out.
Yeah, it reached a multi-decade low, really depressed levels. And now it's just no longer getting worse at a fast rate.
So the bleeding has slowed down, basically. That's the improvement.
That's effectively it.
Yeah.
It's a very low bar for improvement.
Mm.
And the really crucial insight here for you, the listener, is that Wayfair's strategy, remember those three internal pillars, is explicitly not reliant on a housing recovery.
Right.
They're confident they can grow by focusing on controllable share gains within the existing, even if it's depressed, $500 billion market they operate on.
Okay, let's circle back to Gen AI again, but focus on the complexity angle. How is agentic shopping, using AI to shop fundamentally different for something complex like furniture, a big high consideration purchase, compared to just reordering, say, paper towels?
Yeah, the CTO actually addressed this. The unique challenge, he said, is that combination of high consideration dialobe. You really think about buying a sofa and those incredibly complex delivery promises.
Right, getting it into your house without damage.
Exactly. Buying a commodity online is easy. Buying a huge dining table, you need confidence, The style is right, it actually fits the space, and the delivery won't be a nightmare.
So for AI to be useful in selling furniture, it needs to nail the fundamentals first.
Absolutely perfectly. The critical first step, they stressed, is integrating what they call the foundational first-party truth, meaning perfectly reliable, verified data, their own data on pricing, accurate fulfillment windows, detailed product catalog info. Getting that truth perfectly embedded into these AI platforms is step one. And the CEO added a great point. Home goods isn't just about simple replenishment like commodities. It's fundamentally about product discovery.
Finding styles, seeing trends, visualizing.
Exactly. Which opens up this huge opportunity for AI tools that operate higher up the funnel.
Like using AI to generate styled room scenes so you can actually see how selections look together, giving you much higher confidence, as they put it.
Precisely. That's a massive value add beyond just processing a transaction. It shifts the interaction from just, where can I buy this specific rug, to something more like, how should I design my entire living room? And can I trust you, Wayfair, to deliver all of it correctly? That trusted recommendation backed by reliable execution, that's the competitive advantage they're building towards.
Makes sense. Okay, nearly there. Let's quickly touch on the payoff from their long-term investments in supply chain and tech. They were asked about their multi-channel fulfillment program, MCF. How's that going?
Supplier reception, they said, has been really strong. And the reason is that MCF is specifically optimized for Wayfair's core business, handling those larger, bulkier items.
Unlike general fulfillment services may be focused on small packages.
Exactly, and we're starting to see the scale build. They mentioned Castlegate utilization. That's the percent of orders shipping from their own big fulfillment centers hit roughly 25% last quarter. So steady progress there.
Okay, and the replatforming, that huge multi-year tech project we talked about earlier, sounds like they're finally seeing the return on that massive investment.
Yeah, they confirmed the benefits are now tangible. They cited dramatically faster developer velocity.
Meaning they can build stuff faster.
Multiple times faster than they could just last year, apparently. Building new features, fixing bugs quicker, higher quality code. And that speed is directly enabling the rapid launch of those strategic new programs we discussed, the things making up their second growth pillar. It's the underlying infrastructure that's now allowing them to innovate much faster, especially as we head into this AI era.
That really ties it all together. The core story they painted in this Q&A is one of intense internal focus and compounding strategic bets. They're leveraging this newfound tech speed to launch differentiated programs, aiming for predictable share gains, almost irrespective of what happens with housing or tariffs or the broader macro picture.
And that leads perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to ponder. Management made a really interesting statement. They believe customer retention going forward will flow to the most trustworthy API, not the loudest ad.
The most trustworthy API.
Essentially saying that AI agents, the future intermediaries, will prioritize the most reliable, accurate data source when making recommendations.
Okay, so what's the implication? In this rapidly approaching era of agentic commerce, could a retailer's deep commitment to internal data integrity, that foundational first-party truth, actually become its most powerful, most durable competitive advantage?
Is data perfection the new moat? Is it about optimizing trust, not just keywords?
A really fascinating shift to think about.
That's the question they're implicitly asking us to consider.
Definitely something to mull over. That wraps up this deep dive into the Q&A of WFAR's Q3 2025 earnings call. We hope cutting straight to the core helps you feel well-informed and ready for what's next.